Hey guys, welcome back to Neckbeard Game Devs. Let's make a classic slot machine in Unity. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to be downloading some of the audio and visual effects and also getting started with our game environment, setting up a small canvas, bringing in TextMesh Pro. Um, I went to 1001 fonts and just pulled a couple cool fonts. But other than that, we'll also be setting up our coding environment some more. So just go ahead and, if you got to pause the screen and see exactly which assets I'm importing, you can. Or like I said, if there's assets you like and music that you're familiar with, go ahead and import those. So let's get started. Let's make a new folder. We'll call it audio. Another new folder, we're going to call it effects. And let's go ahead and get our asset folder a bit more set up here, a little less chaotic. Let's pull all these music files we just imported into our audio folder and the effect files into the effects folders. All right, so now we have our new folders. We have our asset folder nice and organized. Let's go ahead and open up the prefab, and we're going to get started on creating the colliders for each individual face. So go ahead and open up the whole prefab so we can get to these image slots. All right. So I went ahead and I put a box collider on the first one. I just scaled it a tiny bit, just a very tiny bit. And we might have to scale these all again so that when they're colliding with our score colliders, the two boxes can't collide at the same time. We just got to, that's like one little thing we'll have to make sure. So go ahead and put a box collider on your first one and then get that set properly. Get it centered and at a decent sticking out, about a half inch or so from the actual image. And then we're just going to grab all these and paste the box collider right in there. So just paste component is new, and now we're set up with all our box colliders. Just a note, I put this is trigger. It's going to be the other way around. You're going to see I'm going to create the actual score boxes next, the score colliders, and those will be the triggers. So go ahead and make sure you do not put those as triggers, or else you'll have to, reset them. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the three front boxes. So you're going to leave your first two and your last one, and those right there are going to be our score colliders. They're exactly in the same position, and then we will be able to adjust the sizes exactly the same, or we'll have such a great reference of where they came from that it'll be very simple to adjust them. So go ahead on these left spinners, we're going to remove all, or on your main spinner, we're going to remove all those components and just leave it an empty game object. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab these image slots and we're just going to pull them into the main game object. Then go ahead and delete the middle spinner or of the unused game object. So overall, it should look something like this. Now we're going to grab these and remove the sprite renderer. And we're going to leave those as trigger. So these colliders are going to be our triggers. The image slot is going to be our actual collider that's giving the information. So we're going to rename all these. Just grab each individual, make sure you have all the same one. So these are our top colliders. And these will be our bottom colliders. I'm going to keep the mid collider at the top of this because that's going to be our main collider that turns on first. And then I'm just changing these to left score controller, middle score controller, and right score controller. I want this prefab to make sense. Compared to the model that's stripped down, all this information is here in Unity, not in our model. Just taking a look here, just making sure everything looks right. Okay, so here I am changing it back to is trigger false. All right, so now we have our colliders set as trigger for our score colliders, and then our image colliders are set as is trigger false. Let's just take a look and see how these are spinning. Looks like we got to center them up a bit to the right. They even got that vintage spin to them where they're not perfectly spinning around. All right, looking good. Okay, so here, these are our colliders. Let's go ahead and uncomment this. We're going to set the colliders down here, just copy and paste, but we're going to set them down here as true. Let's make sure we have our colliders set in our script. You know what? I think we should just go ahead and copy this slot controls. Let's go ahead and open up this prefab. And we're going to paste the slot controls in here. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to be easier just to have them here in our prefab environment. Then we can make all our changes here. So let's set up our 3 reels. And now we'll set up our colliders. I'm just doing them, left, middle, right, 0, 1, 2. Same as the spinners, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to revert our slot machine back to the prefab environment, so that everything that we did in that prefab is now done here. Let's go ahead and calculate this perfect angle so we're set up perfect from the start. So we'll set this second one at the Z rotation at 42 degrees. Again, if you have 15 faces, that's what we made in our model, these numbers should work. All right, so now we're set up. You know what? I forgot to take the slot controls off the main camera, so let's remove that. Go ahead and save your scene. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's see if these colliders turn on and off. All right, they're off. They're back on. So that's when we're going to be getting our score information, through collisions. All right, so that's our basic setup. We don't really need much more than that. I'm going to go ahead and turn our post-processing back on. Pull the directional light in there, clean up our scene here. Let's make sure we have the Text Mesh Pro. If you have it and you haven't downloaded the essential resources, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and find your folder. This is where I usually put my fonts, in the Text Mesh Pro folder. That's where I put them all. So say if I want to grab a font from another project that I don't have like in my folder or on my PC compared to my Apple, but I know it's in the project, I know exactly where to go to grab it. So let's go ahead and, if you didn't download any fonts, you can just use the font that comes, but I went ahead and downloaded a couple fonts, and This is the one that I thought I liked the most. Again, it was from 1001 fonts. It was completely free. All right, let's get our game environment looking a bit, more like a game. So I got this world scene in your slot images that if you did download my files, I have all these in there. They're just some screenshots that I grabbed, and I tried a couple different ones, but I liked the way this one looked with the color scheme of our model. Just going to make it a bit bigger. That's going to be basically our whole background. The If we do a VR version of this, we will change it and put more of a 3D. But for say a mobile or WebGL or PC environment, this is going to work perfect. I think I end up here at 3.5 by 3.5. Just playing around with the camera, trying to see what we're looking at. We're also going to add some camera animations, like when the player hits start, it's going to bring the camera, closer into the screen. Little different effects like that. I think our model needs a bit more smoothness before we get any bloom or any of this stuff. So before we make any more materials, we'll just turn that guy off. I'm just playing around, seeing what kind of effects I can get here. I added the lift, gamma, and gain to our post processing volume. You can mess around with the colors, but I'm just trying to get the contrast. All right, so let's go ahead and add our canvas. I always like my event system at the top and the canvas, closer to the top of uh, of the main scene if I don't have multiple canvases or even like multiple scenes in the Unity scene. I went ahead and just added a new text. If you haven't ever used Text Mesh Pro, it's just a necessity at this point. The tools they give you compared to what you get with the normal text, it's not worth it not to download it on every project. It's so more it makes it simple to make your text look good. It gives you plenty of options, even like some 3D options. See what I mean with the text mesh? You just have so many options. Just even these simple options, we haven't even gone into the rest. I'm just trying to get the color closer to our model. Add some lighting. The glow, I like the glow. I usually use the same color as my outline color. If you've never messed with all these settings, this is why this is part of the game design part where you're trying to find that perfect mixture, the perfect colors, everything to really pop out nice. Even change the angle of where it hits the text of the light. See what I mean? You can just really get it looking what exactly the way you want. Let's go ahead and add a button. And then in our images, I have like a play button. I think this is more of like the start game button, not the actual like spin the reels button. This is going to be like our opening scene. You hit play, it brings the camera in closer to the slot machine, and then you could either touch the handle or touch the last green button on the right, and then the other buttons will be for like different betting or different amounts of betting. I just duplicated the text. I'm going to just make that our cache text. We might put some of these text fields in different panels, but for now I just trying to get a feel for it. I'm digging this font. Also showing you guys like how I move around in the 2D environment also, like how I create my canvases. So basically we've parented this text to our cache text. So when our cache text scales, this should scale. This is going to be, let's create an empty game object. This is going to be our audio controller. I dragged it in the main camera because that's where our audio listener is. Went ahead and made an empty game object. These are going to be our audio sources. We could always instantiate these, but I kind of want to get an idea while we're building the game, how many we need. Then we can write a quick code to instantiate a prefab blank audio source, put a clip into it if you really want to save, that minimal amount of file size. I see Unity does that a lot, and when you're first like trying to build a game, that's kind of difficult to deal with. In the development stage, yeah, at the very end of the production, you can go back and refactor all your code and make everything instantiate every single little item that you have doubles of. But at this point, it's at this point of the development, it's it makes it easier just to see what we got going. So I created the background music, our handle sound, and our stop sound. And my Mac doesn't record audio, which is an issue, but you can pick different sounds. This is the one I picked. I had it in my demo. It's kind of an upbeat puzzle sound. I like it. So I'm going to use that as our main audio. We're going to keep that play on awake, and you're going to want to loop that. Let's make a new folder in our audio folder. We're going to call it in-game audio, so that when you go to production, you'll know where all your audio is, and then you could delete all the other files. You could you can really downsize the files if you wanted to that way. So for our handle sound, I wanted kind of a very, booming explosion sound. So this where I got that free pack. It has a good handle sound. It also has a good like a bullet impact sound, which works really well for the real stops. So you're just gonna, I'm building our in-game audio folder now. Sometimes when you're developing, you don't think of these kinds of things. You just kind of dragging stuff, creating all different kinds of mess of the way your folders and the way your game is organized. So if you do it right from the start like this, you create an in-game audio effects folder and then a possible in-game effects folder. Those things at the end of production, you'll be able to go through your files and get rid of what you don't want. So here we're in our audio controls. We're going to add those 3 audio sources. And basically, say if we wanted to instantiate these, we would put an audio clip, public audio clip, that we would put these in a clip or put them in a library and access the library. There's just like a million ways you can do it. Basically you're creating a library by making the folder. So that is, not a library in code, but you're compacting all the files into a folder where everything is. So if you wanted to write the code to put them in a list or a library of some sort, it would be very simple. But sometimes I think that's going to an extreme that isn't necessary for all games. So we're just going to add some sounds. After I looked at this code, I noticed that this shouldn't be in the for loop, but it's going to be okay for now. If you want to drag it up at the top, that'll be fine. You'll still get the same effect. So with the stop sound, you will have 3 stop sounds at the end. I could put it in the for loop, but it's going to be too quick right now because it's just going to run through it in less than 0.02 of a second. But when we put the code in, you'll see we're going to turn on the first collider. It's going to check its score, and then it'll send the signal to turn on the second collider, and then you'll get your next stop sound. So some of this code I'm writing here will be actually pulled into other scripts, and then we'll just have to, add the actual script that we're trying to access. But this is some ways that I do the testing. I'm not going to write 10 scripts for testing. I'm going to write this script. We're going to keep it. We just might delete some stuff and then send the information to the other script to finish up the scoring and, turning on and off the other colliders. You could make a effect script, like I have audio controls, you have effect controls where you have all your effects, but I don't know if we're going to have that many effects. If we end up putting, more than like 6 or 7 effects, maybe we will make a script for the effects. Getting some weird obsolete. Let's just go ahead and delete that creepy cat script. We don't need it. We probably delete all this stuff if you wanted to. All right, so now let's kind of go through some of these effects. They're fantastic. This JMO Assets Cartoon Effects is a great pack. It's a great pack to learn how to use the particle system, and you can modify all this stuff. you can, that's what the particle system is created here in the Unity environment. So it anything that's going on here you could modify with the different images, um, or just with the normal modifications here. It's pretty simple. But this pack is great. It might not seem like a pack that you would use for a game like this, but it just has so many effects. There's a couple in here that I know I want to use. I need to find them. I think that's it. I like this one. I like this cartoon boom. Like I said, you can do whatever you want with these effects. I just want to show you, where you're gonna want to put the effect code to start the effect. Some effects we might have, they might be looping, so you'd want to stop them. Different things like that. It looks like the effect has light in the prefab. We'll have to take a look at that, but it actually brightened up our slot quite nice. I like that. I'm just playing around with where it's going to be, and it might change a couple times more after I set it, but I just want to get an idea of a good location for the effect. And we'll also be moving the camera around, so we got to kind of consider that, or have multiple there. So yeah, our camera when we're playing the game will probably be more closer to here. So let's see what we got here. Oh, we gotta move it back. That's looking pretty good. Something like that. All right, so there's one more effect I want to pull out here. This no, yeah, this is it. The CFX3 Fire. We'll probably have more than one of those. We're just going to start off with one. Oh, I like this one too. This Flying Ember, CFX3 Flying Ember. It might be like more for our bonuses, but we're going to go ahead and drag these guys in here. I use the game scene quite often to like set my objects so I know what they're going to look like in my game. So I with the camera angle, it for me it just makes a world of a difference than just working in the editor. Like I said, these could be for bonuses or for when the reels are spinning, we could turn this on. But for now, I'm just dragging it in here. Just some effects, nothing too fancy going on here. All right, so let's create an effects empty game object so that we could clean up our scene. We got to connect. We got to write the code for this now. Oh, Oh, there's an auto destroy on the particle system. On one of the particle systems. Let's see. There you go, your auto destruct. We want to get rid of that. That's if you're instantiating that object, which you could, that's you instantiate it and then it, blows up and gets deleted. But we're just going to be in the same spot all for this game. We're not moving around at all in this game. It's just a slot machine game, so our effect could stay in the scene. If you wanted to, you can instantiate it once, whatever. All right, so grab this here. Like I said, this handle sound and these spinning effects, after I kind of looked at what I did here, they need to be out of this for loop. You could put it at the top. You could put it in between the for loops, whatever, but not in the for loop. It's not going to make a difference. Just getting called 3 times. All right, let's take a look. Boom. See, like I said, the other effects we could do while we're spinning and then stop them also. Just different things like that. But that's pretty much where we're going to cut it for today. We're going to go further into the actual score logic in the next tutorial. I hope everyone is enjoying this. I hope you're having a great day. Neckbeard out.